All right, this is worksheet 5.4, which is systems of three equations with three variables. And I'm going to first do number 1, where you're given a scenario and you have to come up with a system of three equations and then solve the system to answer these questions. So here we have three variables, and I'm just going to use the first letter of each of these as my variables. And we need to write three equations based on the scenario. So let's just read through it and write equations. We know that one sofa and two love seats cost $2,020. We know that one sofa and three chairs can be purchased for $1,830. One sofa, one love seat, and one chair can be purchased for $1,765. So I have a system of three equations, and now I need to solve for S, L, and C. Notice that these first two equations don't have all three variables, but they each have two of them. So the first step here is to combine a pair of equations and try to eliminate one of the variables. And then the second step is going to be to combine a different pair of equations and eliminate that same variable. So the only variable that we can eliminate twice is S, because that's the only variable that is in all three equations. So to start, I'm going to pair up the first two equations. And in order to eliminate the S, we need to multiply this first one by a -1. So negative S minus 2L equals negative 2020. S plus 3C equals 1,830. Adding those two equations together, the S's both cancel out. So these can be rewritten, but we can't combine these because they're not like terms. And negative 2020 plus 1830 is negative 190. So I have an equation now that doesn't have the S. The second step is to come up with another equation that doesn't have an S by combining a different pair of these. So you could combine the first and the third equation, or you can combine the second and the third equation. So I'm going to go ahead and combine the second and third equation. Again, we need to multiply one of these by a -1. So that gives me negative S minus 3C equals negative 1830. S plus L plus C equals 1765. So adding those together, the C's, if we combine like terms, add up to negative 2C. And the L is by itself. And then negative 1830 plus 1765 is negative 65. So now we have two equations with two variables, and the third step is to take those two new equations and solve the system so that we can find L and C. So I'm going to write these two equations down together, and we can easily eliminate the L if we multiply the second equation by 2. So rewriting those, the second equation becomes 2L minus 4C equals negative 130. So adding these together, we get negative 1C equals negative 320. So we've solved for C. We know that a couch costs $320. Or that's a chair, actually. So the chair is $320. And looking at what we have here, the fourth step is going to be to solve for one of the other variables. The only variable we can solve for, if we know C, is L. We don't have an equation with C and S, so as of now we can't solve for S yet. So I'm going to take one of the equations that has an L and a C. I'm going to take the second one here, L minus 2C equals negative 65. So L minus 640 equals negative 65. So solving for L, we get 575. So we know that the love seat costs $575. And then the only other thing we need to do, so I'm going to call this step 5, is to plug C and L back into one of our original equations and solve for S. So looking back up here, we can plug into any of these. Might as well choose one that just has two variables. So S plus 2L equals 2020. So we have S plus 1,150 equals 2020. And then we just need to subtract 1150 from both sides, and we get 870. So we know now that the sofa can be purchased for $870.